Hello, I'm Rachel, Teacher Healing Mystic, and this is part of my Empowered Empath Training series. You'll find the whole series quite coherently on YouTube, on my YouTube channel. If you're watching this on Facebook, Facebook isn't as easy to organise yourself as it was once. It might be, but they've changed it, and hey ho. I don't want to relearn everything all the time. So you might find the rest of my series on Facebook. I'll pop a link in the comments with the YouTube series on for you to have a look at in a bit more of a cohesive and easier way. So hopefully you've been attracted to this because, hey Jane, because you think you're probably on the empath vibration and you would like to be empowered on that vibration. And that doesn't mean changing who you are and changing your sensitivities. It just means understanding how you work and working with that in a way which is empowered and doesn't hide your energy, and actually helps shine a light on your energy in the best way possible. There are other videos which talk about signs that you might be an empath and all of that type of thing. So have a look through if those are questions for you. This week, I am focusing on empowered empath training around psychic and spiritual connection, how your connection might feel or look different, and what other things you need to be aware of when you're connecting. Okay, so what I'm going to start off with is the fact that there are two types. Well, in fact, there are three types of connection, but there are two types of connection when we do purely sort of spiritual mediumship guidance connection work. The third way of doing it is healing. Obviously, that's the highest vibration. And the second two are psychic vibration, which depending on your own vibration, your psychic vibration might be higher or might be lower. It entirely depends on you because it's your personal connection to your sitter. And the other one is mediumship. And the mediumship connection is a connection to spirit, and that very much depends on where the spirit is that you're connecting into. We exist as beings between the first and the seventh dimensions. Human beings are the only beings in the universe who exist as we do through the dimensions that we do. We're quite special beings, actually. And if you are... doesn't mean that you're very good at accessing those higher dimensions always, which is part of life, right? And there are a lot of spirits which pass in terms of mediumship up to the fourth dimension only. In fact, they stay in the fourth dimension. We're absolutely fourth dimensional beings. So, as we're sat here. So, it depends on the spirit that you're connecting into, okay? So an empathic connection, which is what we're talking about here, empathy and empathic connection, is one where you feel your connection first and foremost. When I first learned it, some of it was, wasn't quite formalized. And then when it was always about seeing and what you sort of pick up on. There are more and more spiritual teachers out there like myself who have an empathic connection, and the teaching that you're going to get from them is based on an empathic connection. So if you're somebody who's an empath and your strongest clear is empathy, then, and feeling that connection in that sort of emotional way. We are talking about emotions, not necessarily talking about gut instinct, which can be slightly different. If you're somebody who comes in that vibration, you do need a teacher who understands how to help you with that connection the most. Traditionally, it was never taught that way. And if you're going with somebody who's a traditional teacher or who has learned very traditionally, maybe come up through the churches or something like that, they're not always gonna, unless they've pushed themselves into that area, the way that they will have learned won't have included this. So most of what I'm talking to you about today has come hard won as somebody who has been through it and out the other side themselves. So I used to never understand why I didn't always connect into all spirit, and I realized afterwards it's because I have an emotional connection. So if the person that you're connecting with hasn't done a huge amount of work on themselves on the other side, they're very private people emotionally in life, we were very cut off emotionally as people, then I struggle to connect into them. And that clicked at some point. That was just something I worked out. And as soon as I worked that out, it was then a case of me being able to find another way to connect into that person. So if you're doing mediumship, you are not going to see, first of all, you are not going to know, you're going to feel. Okay, so you're going to feel maybe an emotion, and you might feel overwhelmed by emotion. So if you're somebody who walks into an old house or a house where you suspect there may be spirit who haven't moved on in the way that they probably should do, if you feel emotion first and foremost, which might be anger, it might be sadness, it might be depression, it might even be joy and happiness, although I expect they've probably moved on. Those people are coming in that vibration. If you're feeling some really stagnated human emotional energy, then it's likely that you're picking up on spirit, and that's your first indication that you have picked up on spirit and that there is a spirit in the area. Okay, it's probably also a connection, unless you've specifically gone in to connect into spirit, you're probably too open. There's one thing about kind of being aware of stuff, and there's another thing about maybe feeling overwhelmed or feeling that emotion very strongly. So just being aware of that. If you walk into somewhere and you're kind of bombarded, you're probably, your heart energy is probably imbalanced and overcharged and over open, and you need to probably talk to a healer and go through your own healing process around inner compassion and all those pillars of self-love in order to sort of bring that back into a balanced state, as well as techniques. There's a lot of techniques that I've done in a lot of the videos which will help you in terms of providing protection. Empowerment is protection. So if you're strong and firm in your energy, and it doesn't mean harsh, that just means my energy's strong, my energy's good. If your energy is strong and good, then there's protection in that in itself. But just being aware that that's a process that will take some time. But the traditional things like cloaking, etc., armor, all of that will work if you find yourself in an environment where you're not there to do spiritual work. You can quite clearly feel a connection. That absolutely will work. Those very traditional cloaking, armament type protections will absolutely cut that energy off, as well as asking your guides to stand in between you and the persons that you're not receiving the residual feedback. So if you're somebody who has had that through your life, then you are certainly somebody who's capable of being a spiritual medium, whether you realize it or not. It's just that you don't traditionally see. Now, when people talk about clairvoyance, what they mean is they don't see spirit physically sat there as do you or I. They see with their mind's eye, the same place where if you read a book where your imagination forms pictures, which is why sometimes we double guess ourselves. A lot of people who are empathic will perceive energy secondarily, so be able to visualize energy as a secondary. So you're going to find that although clair empathy might be your strongest suit, you're going to find that something like clear hearing or the clairaudience or clairvoyance, clear seeing are going to back that up. And again, when we talk about clairvoyance, it doesn't sound like somebody else's voice in your head for most people. Some people it does. The same with the clear seeing. For some people, spirit appear as though they are sat in front of us, but that is very few and far between, and it's probably people who have never lost their gift since they were children. Most of us close it off at some point due to brain changes and due to trying to cope with life. So just being aware that you're going to have a second clear, which is going to come in, a second clair, which is going to come in to support that. So first of all, feeling your connection. I feel there is a spirit because I feel, and so start saying those phrases to yourself. I feel happy, I feel sad, I feel emotional, I feel joyous, and I feel like I am a man. I feel like I'm a woman. I feel like I'm elderly. I feel like I've got a funny chest or a funny throat. And those will be illnesses either they suffered with their whole life or that they passed with when you're given illnesses. I feel old. I feel really young. How do you feel as a person? So that's going to be the second thing that's going to give you your detail. What emotion do I pick up on, as well as what else do I pick up on? Okay. The issue with being an empath is that your connection is emotionally. So it's a lot more draining than if you are somebody who simply sees or feels, because they can just cut that off they can be quite cutthroat about it. And it's a lot harder if you are an emotional person picking up on the emotion. Okay, so what I would suggest is if you're an empath, unless you are part of a circle, part of a group who's going out with some experienced mediums, and I don't mean ghost hunting, because you don't need to be a medium to do a ghost hunt. Many good ghost hunt companies, and there are some really good ones out there, absolutely will have a medium as part of it. They will put the protection in place, and they will make sure that as a clear empath, you might want to let them know, like, I'm really sensitive to stuff emotionally. I'm really worried about somebody. And that's when you do get attachments, is emotionally attaching into themselves on you. And that's not them being nasty. Like, attachments just happen. Let's get rid of some of that weird stigma around attachments. Attachments happen all the time. They happen all the time. And they're far easier if you're a clear empath, because you felt some emotional connection somewhere. And it's almost like you reaching out an emotional hand and somebody going, oh, somebody can feel me, somebody can help me, somebody can heal me. That's what your energy naturally wants to do, is to heal other people's emotions. That's why your energy is the way it is, and a spirit is absolutely going to pick up on that. Just making sure if you go to one of those ghost hunts that the medium there is aware that you're a clear empath, and they should be putting in some pretty decent protection for you anyway, and cutting and cleansing as everybody goes off, and giving tips if there's any issues afterwards. Okay, so making sure that if you are going to go and learn, that it's in a controlled environment, that you're sat in circle, whether that's online or whether that's a physical circle. Sitting in circle is a really, really good idea for you if you're looking at spiritual mediumship. Okay, so you're feeling that connection first and foremost from the spirit. All right. When that can get even stickier is, say, for example, you go out with a group and you're the healer, or you're part of a group of healers, and you're going to go out and heal a piece of land or heal a site because there's issues there, then unless the site's already been cleared quite heavily, and what normally happens, particularly with certain sites, is that they'll attract in spirit. And the reason why they attract in spirit is because there's energy there. And if it gets cleared, unless it's maintained on a regular basis by a spiritual medium who's also a healer, you're going to find that spirit will congregate there again, unless it's regularly cleared, and or there's a guardian, as in you would put in certain structures in order for spirit to pass on a regular basis, which we just need that medium every so often to think about and reinforce, so that the spirit doesn't gather there, that actually there's always a conduit for spirit who do come to these energetic points to kind of go off. Okay, so you might find yourself as a healer, because a lot of empaths do, we think we're just healers, right? Just healers, which actually nothing more important than a healer. We think we're just healers because I don't see and I don't hear. No, but you feel, you feel, okay? And that's where your connection starts, and it's not where your connection ends unless you want it to, all right? So you might be a healer, or you might be a practicing medium or training medium and healer, and you're going along to one of these sites and you want to put some energy into the site. Be aware that you may come away with, because you're putting in energy and emotion. Yeah, emotion is an energy. So those two things go hand in hand. So if you're putting energy into a site, you're healing that site, transmuting the rubbish that's on that site, you are likely to come away with an attachment unless there's proper protection put in place, okay? Unless you tie cut afterwards, okay? And do other bits and pieces while you're there. So it might be that you're not even looking to connect, but you're far more likely to come away with an attachment as a result of that. Vast majority of attachments are perfectly nice human beings who have got stuck on the other side and don't quite know what to do. Most of the time you can have a chat with them and you can pass them on. And there's all sorts of things varying from, I need to find someone, I don't realize I'm dead, I need to sort this out type of vibes coming on. I don't quite know what to do. I took my own life and God's going to be mad with me. All of that stuff. So normally you can have a conversation. And, like I said about clairvoyance, if it sounds like your own voice in your head, then it's the voice of the spirit. So when you're sat down to work in spirit, whatever you hear and whatever you visualize are all from spirit. They are not for you. So don't make that mistake. Even if it looks like your own stuff, or even if it sounds like somebody it is not yours. It is spirit, okay, talking and communicating with you, because you have set such an intent. If you set the intent, that's what's going to happen. So most of the time, spiritual attachments can be passed on easily. If you're stuck, speak to a spiritual medium who is also a healer. Both of those things are important, because if you're somebody who generally picks up a lot of attachments and it's not the odd one, there's probably some healing that you need to do, because attachments will find it easier to attach into somebody who hasn't, who's got a lot of their own junk still hanging around. You think about your aura and your energy system as being an egg or something like that. There's a crack, then disease and all that other rubbish is going to seep in. So if your aura is damaged quite badly and you haven't been far enough in your healing journey maybe to do some of this stuff, think about stepping back and sorting your own healing journey out before going out and doing other bits and pieces. That's more important. It's going to make you a better healer. It's going to make you a better medium. It's going to make you a better human being. Okay. It's going to make you more empowered. So healing journey, healing journey, healing journey. Ways you might know that you might have a spiritual attachment may be that you're moody, your energy is really low, you don't feel like yourself. Hey Tilly, stuff keeps on going wrong for no freaking reason. You keep dropping stuff, or just weird stuff. You almost feel like you're in a weird dimension. And it's likely that you've probably got a spiritual attachment. Get somebody else to check your energy. Don't check your own energy with your dowser, because your dowser's in your energy. If you've got an attachment in your energy, it's going to affect it too. Okay. So if you want to get somebody else, and make sure you've got a community around you. That's really, really important. So that's the spiritual mediumship stuff, whether intentional or unintentional. If you're somebody who's psychic and wants to do psychic work, which anyone who's a medium is also psychic, anyone that's psychic can develop into a medium. Okay, let's just get that clear. Anyone who says, oh, I'm a medium, but I'm not psychic, rubbish. Those two things go hand in hand. That's just how the vibration works, right? We are all psychic. Every single person is psychic, depending on how aware of their own abilities, depending on how aware they are of how their own psychic ability works and how to read their own psychic ability. Everyone is psychic. So if you've developed yourself mediumship-wise, your psychic ability is going to be more finely tuned than others by default. Okay, so you might be doing card readings or other sorts of psychic work where you're reading somebody else's energy. Okay, first and foremost, you're probably, as an empath, going to pick up on an emotional connection. At the moment, what I get off you is that you're feeling worried, or you're questioning something, or it's going to feel like your own emotion. It feels like this, or I'm feeling really confused and discombobulated and blah, 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 blah. Okay, remember, this is a tool. You're not owning somebody else's energy. Thanks, Spirit, I've got that. Next message, please. And next message will come through. Okay. So you're going to be able to pick up on what's going on with the person. The way that I teach is it's not just what you're picking up off the person. Make sure you're connecting up as well. So if you're sat down, ground in. Protection as a human being, my own individuality. I don't have to sacrifice myself to you. We are all individual humans. So remembering your humanity, grounding yourself in, clearing your aura through, bringing down your connection from spirit. Okay, even better, bring down your connection and then feel your way up that connection to whichever level you need to. That's where you're going to get your spiritual guidance from. It's up there, not from the person sat in front of you. There are plenty of people out there who do readings who pick up on what's on the other person's aura. This has gone on for you, this has happened recently, this, and that's brilliant psychic work in terms of maybe proving that there's such a thing as psychic. But what's the guidance? What's the guidance? Where does that guidance come from? It comes from up there. It comes from spirit, from that person's higher self, from your higher self, from their guides, from your guides. It comes from up there. So you're going to feel your connection, and then you're going to ask for your guidance to come down as well. Okay, that guidance and how that comes in, which is the second part of the psychic connection. If you're given readings, there is no point in you sitting there doing psychic readings if all you're doing is telling the person in front what's going on for them. They already know. And there's a massive difference between giving your opinion as to what they might do, because our opinion isn't necessarily right for the person that's sat in front of you. Okay, there's certain things that I might, I'll have a friend come to me for a reading. I'd be like, oh, yeah, that's going on. They need to, my opinion as a friend is going to be different from what spirit tell me. And I will know that it's come from spirit because it isn't the advice I would have given them. Okay, so if you find yourself giving advice as though it's your advice, unless you have tuned in and those two things just so happen to match, which obviously can happen, just be aware that you're supposed to be getting guidance from up there, not from the person in front of you's aura, which, or from your own psyche, from your own ego, because we've all got our own problems, right? We've all got our own views, and those views aren't necessarily, and those problems which skew our view aren't necessarily going to be good for the person in front of us, which is why, as psychics, as mediums, we have to go through our healing journey if we're expected to give advice, because it has to come from a high vibrational place, and from a place which is for the person in front of them's good, not to suit your own ego. Okay, so those are the main things that you're going to have to be aware of. Is you're going to feel your connection first. You need to be aware that it's more likely that you're going to pick up waifs and strays, which is what I call attachments, because there is a fear thing around attachment. You're more likely to pick up a waif and a stray, and making sure that you get the right teacher who's going to teach you and help you develop in the way that you need to, making sure that when you go out doing anything psychic, that you have got somebody, especially if you're just going on a ghost hunt, that you've got somebody who knows what they're doing in terms of protection. Tie cutting, comb your aura, grounding. Okay, grounding, it helps you remember you're human, that you don't have to give your emotional energy to other people. Remind you of your individuality. Grounding at the end. Imagine a flame coming up, and this is violet flame stuff. Imagine a flame coming up from the earth, burning through your aura, your connection from spirit coming down. Okay, burn through your aura, get rid of anything that's in your aura, attachments or otherwise, and imagine your energy reducing down, including your heart energy, down to a level that's balanced for you going out and living. Feel the strength and empowerment within your aura, and go home. And repeat that if you've got issues where you're thinking a lot about something you've done or about a reading that you've given, that type of thing, because it's likely you've still got a connection. And I've done other boundary cutting stuff, which is also really important for empaths, and you can use that as part of this, as a part of your tie cutting experience. Burn away the ties. And also the other one that I've done, which is the recalling in your energy, as well as rejecting other people's stuff which isn't yours. Both of those things are really important in terms of making your energy whole and empowering your own energy, particularly as an empath. Those are things that you need to be doing daily, and especially after you've done some mediumship. If you've done a mediumship or psychic reading, I would recommend healing afterwards. Okay, thank you, bye-bye. Minimally sat meditation. If you're an empath and you're a psychic or a medium and you're not a healer, please get some formal training. I absolutely believe that everyone is a natural healer. However, we all did our apprenticeship with the witch at the edge of the village, or the wise woman who sat in a house, somewhere on the other side of town, or with whoever it was that was in your local community. We all did apprenticeships. So I absolutely believe we're all natural healers. You need to learn how to do your healing properly. Okay? So if you are an empath who does mediumship or does psychic readings, please get some healing training. Learn how to heal yourself after every reading, because you need to top up your energy more than others. Like I said, you will use more energy than somebody else due to the way your connection is forged. Okay. You need more alone time. If you find that alone time getting too much, that's when there's an imbalance, right? Okay, that is all I have time for. Whether you're watching live or on catch up, please let me know if you've got any specific questions about anything I've spoken about today. I will pop a link for the YouTube